Hello everyone. Today I'm going to make a short video on a practical issue which is on voter fraud. Now, one type of voter fraud is inherent in the electronic voting machines. I first talked about this many years ago, 20 years ago probably, and they also came up with some solutions. And I've been talking about this off and on since that time. Well, considering the times of today, the events of today, I think it's worthwhile to bring up the issue again and the solutions that I propose. And what I'm hoping is, in this particular video, of course, everybody wants their video shared. Please share my video. But in this case, I think it's regarding voter fraud and solutions. I think perhaps hopefully you will share this one for that reason alone. Okay, electronic voting machines. One of the problems is the rigged electronic voting machine. And the way that works is, on the surface it looks like you're voting, but underneath in the computer program it has its own selections. So you press all your votes, you do it very carefully, the screen lights up, you hit enter. You think you voted. You think you voted correctly. But that's just a front. Behind it is a program that already selects your voting. So that is, if you vote for, say, a senator, it doesn't matter which senator you vote for, which candidate you vote for, the result is already pre-programmed in. You vote for your congressman, it doesn't matter which one you vote for, it's already programmed in, you see. Now, you think you're getting a vote because it lights up on your screen. It's got nice color on the screen, lights on the screen. You hit OK, double check, click, click, click. But that's just a surface. Underneath, it goes through. It basically says, as long as this person is voting, we're going to give the predetermined who we want on each of those slots and attach his voting number to it. And then that goes into the records. Okay? Now, this is something that is easy enough to create, and I believe it does happen. Where and how needs to be looked at. Okay? You need to do a lot of investigations to find exactly where this has happened. Hold on a second. Little pop-up video on my screen. So, yes. So now I believe most of the voting machines are legitimate, but a lot of them aren't. And particularly as time goes by, we see more and more voter fraud in easy-to-see cases, likely here as well. We already saw in the Democratic primaries, they had problems with their voting machine. Yeah, problems, right? Yeah. Yeah. Plus, I have friends who have been collecting voter fraud for years. They have actual evidence, physical evidence, documentation evidence, videos, names, everything. Of course, it's hard to get through the media, who doesn't listen, or the deep state that tries to prohibit them, but there's evidence there. Now, that particularly is on electronic voting. It's on other types of paper ballots and other things, but the evidence is there, and by correlation, if they're going to do that, and we have evidence in that precinct for that kind of voter fraud, then very likely the electronic voting is fraudulent in those districts as well. Okay? All right. So what are we going to do about this? Well, something that I proposed in the machines. Okay? How we get this in the machines themselves to verify is a paper trail. And there'll be two paper trails. The first paper trail is within the box unit of the voting machine. The second paper trail is your copy. So think about this like a receipt. You go to the clothing store like Macy's and you buy something, right? Great. Electronic transaction happens to the bank. That's electronic. Your purchase is made electronically. Ding. But they have a printed receipt that you get to take home. That's yours. And in case there's a return or something's wrong, you have a physical receipt to show. Okay? In addition, many of these stores also have their own paper receipts. Okay? I worked at one of these stores many years ago, and they get these paper receipts that are very, very long. And they don't look at them unless there's a discrepancy, unless there's a problem. But basically, it's a roll, 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 roll. And if there's no problem, they just stick it over here, put a date on and archive it. Next day. Roll, 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 roll. If no problems at the end of the day, they just put a number on it, archive it, put it over there. But if there's a problem, then they pull out their roll and they look at the times and they try to assess everything. Okay? That's the same type of system that I want to use with the electronic voting. So when you see something on the screen and the thing goes out, all right, to computer system, wherever, that should be accurate. It should be legitimate based on what you pressed. And if it is, you can verify it with the in-box receipt. A type of a roll paper or just a printed summary sheet that I envision a printed summary sheet that prints and comes down at the bottom of the box. Like here's your voting machine. There's a box down here, and it just sort of prints for each voter. And then the voter managers in the room will periodically go take the tray, put a clip around it, set it over here, and then like refilling the printer paper, right? So that way what they're going to do is they're going to have this in-house stack, these stacks of printed voting records that are going to all go in these buckets, right? So the machine will print for every voter, their decisions. It goes into the bucket, and those are set aside. Now, if there's discrepancies in the voting, if someone challenges it, the auditors can go straight to the bucket, and they start flipping through, and they start looking. This person voted for this, for this, for this, for this, for this, for this. Okay? And they can double check, and if there's a problem, it can be changed right there. Okay? Because then your paper is more accurate than the computer. Now, the second thing is, of course, the printed receipt for yourself. When you go to Macy's and clothing store, you get a printed receipt. You have it in your hands. There it is. Right? When you go to the gas station, it prints out a receipt. There it is. You have it. So if you personally believe there's a problem, you have the receipt. And you can actually look out before you leave the voting area. You can actually look at your printout before you leave the voting area and to say, yes, this is who I voted for. If not, then you get to challenge them on it, and they're going to have to do something about it right there before you leave on voting day. Okay? And then, if there is another problem later on, you have your sheet. You've already verified it before you left that it's who you voted for. But then later on, the county officials say there's some discrepancies, people are challenging. So if you're interested in challenging, please, bring a duplicate of your thing. And so what you can do, you don't have to bring the original. You just make a photocopy, and you print it and you hand it to them. Or I'm sure they can do some sort of scanning and email to them, and for that as a quick check. Okay. But the basic line is they're going to have a printer box which prints out your voter ID number and your choices. Goes in the bucket. You get to print out your sheet of your voter number and who you voted for. Get to verify it while in the office, while in the voting area. Good. If not good, do something about it. And then later on that evening, the next day, discrepancies, confusion. We need some sort of a recount here. They can go to the buckets and they can ask for individual voters to send in copies, not originals, copies of their thing. And if need be, then I guess you can go to originals and all that. But that's the basic idea. Okay. Video's already getting longer than I wanted it to. But this is the basic idea, and I hope that we can spread this video and the idea so that we can discuss it and get it implemented. Okay? So, electronic voter fraud, watch for it, because it can happen. And to combat it, we need printer. The 2 printer systems, one for the bucket in-house, and then one as your receipt to take home with you. Okay, that's all.